It's finally happened. The seal has been lifted, and the Honored One is back. Hello everyone, and welcome to the chapter chat for Jujutsu Kaisen, chapter 221, aka one of the greatest chapters of JJK history. We have so much to talk about here. This is going to be very incoherent because I'm very excited, so let's get into it. Before we start ranting about everything Gojo related, let me give you a quick summary of the chapter. So Yuji and the others are preparing to unseal Gojo. They realize that maybe it's not the best idea to do it in the building they're currently at in case he comes out in a fit of rage and ends up destroying their entire location. So they get out into the open. Angel uses Jacob's ladder to unseal Gojo, but the prison realm disappears, and they question whether they actually just end up killing Gojo. We find out that this was Kenjaku's plan all along. He submerged the other part of prison realm down deep in the ocean, deep in the trenches, and he was expecting Gojo to die in the process of them trying to unseal him. Now, for whatever reason, this doesn't happen. Gojo gets out. We get a phenomenal panel of him just standing there right in front of Kenjaku. He's looking sexier than he ever has. He's ready to throw hands. But then Maguna shows up along with Urame, who gets fucking Dragon Ball Z punched immediately and blitzed by Gojo. Like, she's not in the same league as them, but why is she even there? Then Gojo essentially lets the two know that he's not ready to fight yet, but when he is, he's gonna win. He's the strongest. Okay, so going into a bit more detail with the start of the chapter, I really liked the comedic tone that they went with for this scene. I thought it was really funny seeing what Yuji imagined an enraged Gojo would look like if he got unsealed. We got some really cute panels of Panda and the others when they were trying to unseal Gojo. Panda's kind of like peeking over the little barrier because of how small he is now. Inumaki gets his moment where he uses the megaphone again, which I thought was really cool. That was a nice callback. But yeah, just the overall tone of the start of the chapter of Gojo's actual unsealing was a lot more comedic than I thought it would be, but I felt it worked. It was just a nice, light-hearted, goofy moment with the whole gang, which we haven't really had for, well, God knows how long, since season 1 of the anime. I thought it was maybe a little jarring, coming off of the pretty dark, pretty heavy tone that we've had for a while in the series now, but it felt almost fitting. Okay, so something else I wanted to talk about is them teasing this enraged Gojo when he comes out of the box with everyone's speculation of what his mental state is going to be like. Yeah, when he actually does come out, he seems very calm. I feel like there's a lot more to unpack here in future chapters. Like, for example, how Gojo actually got out of Prison Realm because Kenjaku questions it. We're questioning it. So the fact that Gojo actually should have died getting out of Prison Realm but somehow didn't, and the fact that we had a direct teaser towards Rage Gojo really makes me feel like there's something else going on behind the scenes here. There's something else that we haven't quite had revealed about how he got out, why he's so eerily calm in this chapter. Now, in terms of how Gege drew Gojo here, I think it's really interesting. Something feels different. It's almost like an uncanny valley type situation where it's definitely Gojo. It's, you know, without question, like, it's the Gojo Satoru we know and love, but he's a bit different. I think he feels more buff. He looks like, you know, Gojo's never been the muscular type, but he looks fucking ripped here. And as well as that, his hair is a bit different. His face looks different. I don't know how I feel about it. I think I like it. I think his physicality reminds me a lot of Toji, actually, which I find really interesting. I'm not sure if that parallel was meant to be drawn, but if you look at panels of the two side by side, then I think you'll start to see what I'm seeing. I'm not sure if that's intentional, probably not, but it's just something weird that I picked up on. But yeah, overall, he looks really good here. Now, in terms of Gojo's characterization here, again, it feels very on point, but there's just something a little bit off. Some of the lines that he's throwing around here are just absolutely cold, hard burns. Like, the first line he gives to Kenjaku is just, "You should choose your words more carefully because they will be your last." Like, holy shit. This man just came out of being sealed for God knows how long. We know time doesn't pass in Prison Realm, so he could have been in there for hundreds of years. This man just gets out, and the first thing he's doing is he's throwing shade at Kenjaku. And as well as that, the first line he has towards Maguna, it threw me off a little because I was expecting a much more emotional, a much more volatile reaction to seeing that Sukuna is now in Megumi's body. But the way he handles it it's strange to me. Just simply, you've changed quite a bit since the last time I saw you, Megumi. And I don't know, it's got weird vibes to it. In some ways, it's a pretty serious line, and I feel like that's the vibe we're supposed to get from it. We're supposed to feel like he's holding all of that rage, all of those emotions in, and this is just delivered like in a completely cold, deadpan way. Whereas I feel like you can also interpret it as something a bit more lighthearted and snarky, but I'm not sure that's what Gege's going for here. But yeah, the way at which he throws little quips, little bits of shade at both Kenjaku and Sukuna, bear in mind, he's just come out of the box again, and he's immediately throwing these one-liners, these quips at two of, if not the two most powerful characters in the series aside from himself, and he's confident doing that. I think that says a lot about the sort of power levels that Gojo is on, and the sort of confidence he has in this fight. Him questioning whether Sukuna can beat him by calling him the loser that just ran away from Yuji, I think was brilliant. Him making fun of Kenjaku for the stitches on his forehead, again, great stuff. But man, just, for me, it's the way he absolutely, immediately, without question, just blitzes Yorame. Just one punch, and she's gone. We don't see her for the rest of the chapter. Man, that's my Gojo. But yeah, we see that despite this, neither side is actually really ready for this fight. Sukuna wants to take him on, but he made a promise to Kenjaku that he has to fulfill first. Gojo also says that he came back because he wants to give Geto's body a proper burial, and that he's not quite ready to fight Sukuna yet either. So despite the fact that this was still a setup chapter, it had so much in it. The promise that they make to fight each other on the 24th of December, aka the day that Geto himself died. It's really poetic, but it's also twisted and fucked up at the same time, but that's just how Gege works. I really liked that little detail. I thought that was great. But hands down, my favorite moment of the chapter is the ending. I thought, oh man, we've had so many examples of really early setup and then some great payoff later on in Jujutsu Kaisen, especially recently, you know, with the whole Yuji's binding vow with Sukuna, and then we saw that come into play, and now here we get a little flashback to the conversation between Gojo and Yuji, where Yuji asked him if he thought that he could win against Sukuna, and Gojo said very casually, yeah, I'd win. And we end off with Gojo just straight up stating, I will win. Man, what a chapter. Now, I want to talk a little bit about what I think is to come in the future, and this is not how I envisioned Gojo coming back. I didn't see him jumping straight into confronting Kenjaku and Sukuna. I don't think they're going to fight here. I don't think we're actually going to get any more real combat whatsoever, since they've both sort of said that they're not ready to fight yet. I would imagine next chapter we maybe get the ending off of this scenario, and then we see Gojo going back and joining Yuji, Maki, Yuta, and the rest of the gang, and we sort of get some interactions there. Maybe Gojo gets filled in on what's happened in Shibuya and what's happened in the Culling games. I really hope we get some proper emotional moments with him, you know, realizing what happened to Megami properly, what happened to Nobara, what happened to Nanami. There have been so many deaths and so much destruction since he left the series, and that's why we were all sort of expecting him to come back in this sort of rage mode. I have a feeling that maybe we'll find out a bit more about how Gojo actually got out and how he didn't die like Kenjaku thought he would. But yeah, man, there's so much to come, but the fact that we got this chapter when we did, it really does feel like we are entering the final arc of Jujutsu Kaisen. Gege said they wanted to end the series by the end of the year. I can definitely see that coming true now that we've had this chapter. But yeah, these weeks without chapters now, the break that we're having with JJK, it's gonna be rough. But yeah, overall, I adored this chapter. This is one of my favorite chapters of the series. It's an easy 10 out of 10, no question. Gojo is my favorite character, always has been. I'm definitely not alone in that. So I'd imagine you guys know how I feel. I'm so happy he's back. Just any Gojo content we get in the future is just going to be greatly appreciated. If he ends up getting killed off, which wouldn't surprise me, then I hope Gege does it in a good way. I hope we get to see him go all out before that happens. The fact that we didn't get Rage Gojo yet doesn't mean that it can't still happen. I imagine it's still going down at some point in the future, whether it's against Sukuna or Kenjaku, or whether it's against the higher-ups and just, you know, all of Jujutsu Society as a whole. But yeah, there are so many possibilities for the future. I can't wait for next chapter. I'm going to be sitting here thinking about this one for quite a while still. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my rant. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you check out the rest of my content, and I will see you guys in a blur.